The night was dark and heavy. Clouds covered the sky, and the moon gave no light. Rain fell in sheets against the roof of a small wooden house that stood alone at the edge of a deep forest. The wind cried through the trees, bending branches, shaking the walls, and making the old windows rattle. Inside the house, a single man sat near a weak fire. His name was Daniel. He was a quiet man, living far away from cities, far away from people. He liked the silence. He liked the way the world stopped bothering him when he was alone. That night, however, silence refused to stay. At first, he thought he heard only the storm. Then, there came another sound. A hard, urgent knock on his door. Not once, but 3 times. The sound was sharp, strong, and desperate. Daniel froze. No one ever came to his home at night. Almost no one came at all. He lived too far from the nearest town. He had no neighbors close enough to walk in a storm like this. His heart beat faster as the knock came again. Louder. Stronger. He rose slowly from his chair. He listened. The fire popped. The wind screamed outside. Then silence fell for a moment, only to be broken once more by that heavy knock. Daniel felt a chill creep down his back. He walked to the door step by step, his boots echoing on the wooden floor. He placed his hand on the handle, but he hesitated. He whispered to himself. Who would knock at this hour, in this storm? The knock came again. This time it was weaker, as if the one outside was losing strength. Daniel pulled the handle. The door opened with a long creak. His breath caught. A figure stood in the rain. A tall woman, her body wrapped in strange, broken armor. Sparks flickered from the edges of metal plates that clung to her like a second skin. She leaned against the doorframe, her face pale, her eyes burning with a strange golden light. In her arms she held a child. The child was small, no more than 5 years old, with the same glowing eyes. The child's face was wet with rain and tears, pressed tight against the woman's chest. The woman's voice shook. Please! Help us! Daniel could not move. His mind screamed at him that this was impossible. Her armor was not from Earth. The glow in her eyes was not human. Her skin carried strange markings, glowing faintly in the stormlight. She was not from this world. The woman staggered. Daniel reached forward without thinking. His arms caught her before she could fall. She was heavy, her armor cold, her body trembling. The child looked at him with wide eyes. Fear and hope lived inside that gaze. The woman spoke again, her words broken but clear. They are coming. Please! Do not let them take my child! Daniel's heart thundered in his chest. He looked out into the forest. The storm roared, but within the trees he thought he saw something else. Strange shadows moved between the trunks. A faint red glow blinked like eyes in the darkness. He felt a sharp instinct, a warning that something dangerous was out there, watching. He pulled the woman inside and shut the door tight. The lock clicked. The sound was small, but it gave no comfort. The storm was nothing compared to the danger waiting in the woods. Daniel laid the woman gently on the floor near the fire. She winced in pain as she clutched her side. Her armor was broken open. Dark blood, glowing faintly blue, stained her skin. The child knelt beside her, holding her hand with tiny fingers. The woman whispered, I fought them. I ran. They hunt me. They want the child. He is all I have left. Daniel knelt beside her. His voice trembled. Who are you? Her eyes met his, fierce and desperate. A mother. A warrior. In exile. But tonight, I am only a mother who begs you. Please protect him. The words cut deep into Daniel's heart. He was only a man. A man who wanted peace, who wanted no part in wars or battles. Yet now a wounded warrior from the stars was on his floor, asking him for help. And outside in the storm, something terrible was coming closer. The knock at his door had changed everything. The fire crackled. The woman breathed with pain, her hand never letting go of her child. The boy's golden eyes shone in the firelight, watching Daniel with silent trust. Outside, the forest whispered with hidden movement. Daniel's world had always been small. One man. One house. One life and silence. But in that moment, as thunder shook the sky and danger closed in, he knew his quiet life was over. Something greater had come to his door. Something that would demand more than fear. It would demand courage. The knock had opened a new chapter. A chapter written in rain, fire, and fate. And it had only just begun. The fire burned low. Shadows stretched across the wooden walls. The storm outside had not ended, yet inside the house another storm had already begun. Daniel sat close to the strange woman, his heart beating fast, his mind filled with questions he had never thought he would ask. The woman's armor sparked again, a weak light crawling along the broken edges. Daniel reached for a blanket and covered her trembling form. The child sat beside her, holding her hand tightly, his small body pressed against her side. His glowing eyes never left Daniel, as if weighing his soul. For a moment no one spoke. Only the fire cracked, and the rain rattled against the windows. Then the woman drew a sharp breath. She pushed herself up, though pain twisted her face. She spoke softly, her words heavy with meaning. "You must know what danger you have invited inside. My enemies are not men. They are hunters. They will not stop. If they find me here, they will burn your house. They will kill you. And they will take my child." Daniel stared at her. His throat was dry, but he managed to whisper, "Who are they?" The woman's eyes, golden and bright, flickered with sorrow. "They are called the Vakal. They rule with fear. They destroy those who resist. I fought them. I escaped. But they will not forgive me. They will not forget him." She touched the boy's head gently. "He carries something they want. Something they fear. That is why they hunt us." Daniel tried to make sense of her words, but his thoughts ran in circles. None of this should have been possible. He was just a man living in silence. And yet here she was, a warrior from the stars, bleeding on his floor, whispering of enemies that could tear the sky apart. He looked at the boy. "What about him? What is he?" The child tilted his head, his eyes wide, as if he understood every word. The woman answered slowly. "He is my son. He is innocent. But inside him lives power. The Vakal fear it. They wish to take it. To twist it. To make him a weapon." The fire hissed as if reacting to her words. Daniel felt the weight of her secret press down on him. He wanted to ask more, but before he could speak, the child reached out with a tiny hand and touched Daniel's wrist. Warmth spread from the touch, a strange warmth that went deeper than skin. In that instant Daniel felt something. A glimpse. A rush of emotion not his own. Fear. Hope. Love. It was as if the boy's spirit brushed against his own. The touch faded, but Daniel shivered. He pulled back, his eyes wide. The woman watched him closely. "You felt it, did you not?" Daniel nodded, unable to speak. Her voice dropped lower, heavy with exhaustion but strong with truth. "That is why we cannot stay long. If they sense him, they will come. If you help us, you will be marked. If you refuse, we will leave, but we will not last the night." Daniel looked into her eyes. He saw a warrior who had fought battles he could not imagine, yet now she sat here asking for the mercy of a simple man. Her blood stained his blanket, her child clung to her, and her voice shook not with weakness but with desperate honesty. Inside Daniel, two voices fought. One whispered that he should run. That he should send them back into the storm. That this was not his war. The other voice, quieter but stronger, told him he could not. He had opened the door. He had seen their faces. To turn away now would not save him. It would only destroy what little humanity he had left. The storm outside howled louder, as if the world itself demanded his choice. Finally Daniel spoke, his voice steady though fear coiled in his chest. "Stay here. At least for tonight. I will not let anyone take your child." The woman closed her eyes. A single tear traced her cheek, mixing with rain and blood. She whispered, Then you are already braver than many I have known. The boy's small hand tightened around Daniel's arm. This time the touch was gentle, like a silent thank you. Daniel rose and checked the door. He pushed the table against it, then turned to the windows, pulling the curtains closed. His tools and old rifle hung by the wall. He took them down, his fingers brushing dust away. He had not used them in years, but tonight they felt heavier, alive with purpose. The woman watched him with tired eyes. You are only one man. Why do you risk this? Daniel paused. His answer came slow, from deep inside him. Because no one should face the night alone. Her gaze softened. For a heartbeat, the warrior's mask fell, and she looked at him not as a stranger, not as a soldier, but as something else. Perhaps as hope. Outside, in the trees, a distant hum echoed through the storm. Daniel stiffened. He knew the sound was not thunder. The hunters were closer. The fire flickered. The night thickened. The secret was no longer hidden. And the war had already reached his door. The storm outside grew restless. The rain no longer sounded like rain. It drummed against the walls like an army's march. Daniel stood by the window, his old rifle in hand, his breath slow, his eyes sharp. The glow of the fire painted his face with gold and shadow. Behind him, the warrior woman sat with her child pressed against her side, her broken armor catching the weak light like shattered glass. The boy lifted his head. His golden eyes shone brighter than before. He whispered, though his lips barely moved. They are here. Daniel froze. He had not heard anything. Only the storm, only the wind. But the child spoke with certainty. And a second later Daniel heard it too. A low hum. A pulse that cut through the sound of thunder. The kind of sound no machine from Earth could make. He stepped closer to the window and lifted the curtain just a little. His heart stopped. At the edge of the forest, lights moved between the trees. Red beams cut across the dark, searching, crawling over roots and branches. Tall shadows shifted. Metal. Cold. Unfamiliar. Something alive and not alive. Daniel let the curtain fall. His stomach turned, but his hand stayed firm on the rifle. He looked back at the woman. She met his eyes and nodded. The Vaikal scouts. They found us. She pushed herself up, leaning on the wall for support. Pain rippled through her, but her voice held no weakness. You must be ready. They do not speak. They do not show mercy. They will tear through your walls. They will burn your world to ash if they must. Daniel's throat tightened, but he forced the words out. Then let them come. We fight. The warrior stared at him, as if surprised by his answer. Slowly, a faint smile touched her lips. A human's courage. Now I see why the stars whisper about your kind. The boy pressed close to his mother, fear trembling in his small hands. Daniel crouched beside him. His voice softened. Stay close. Do not be afraid. The child looked at him with those bright golden eyes. I am not afraid, he said quietly. Because you are here. Those words struck Daniel harder than the storm, harder than the fear. In that moment he knew he could not fail. Not for the woman. Not for the child. The hum outside grew louder. A beam of red light swept across the house, glowing through the cracks of the wooden walls. Daniel's breath caught. The enemy was circling. The woman pushed a hidden button on her broken armor. A small blade unfolded from her wrist, glowing with pale blue fire. She staggered but held it steady. If they break through, I will fight until I fall. But promise me this. Protect him. Even if I die. Daniel gripped his rifle tighter. His voice was iron. No. We all live. Or none of us do. The woman's eyes widened. For a moment, her warrior's mask broke again, and she looked at him not as a stranger but as something stronger. An ally. Perhaps more. A crack of thunder shook the house. The red lights outside multiplied. Shadows crept closer. Metal feet crushed the wet ground. A sharp hiss filled the air, like machines breathing. The first blow struck the door. The table jumped, The wood groaned, and the firelight flickered wildly. The boy gasped and buried his face against his mother's side. Daniel shouted, "Stay back!" He aimed the rifle at the door. Another blow. The lock cracked. Splinters flew. The woman lifted her glowing blade. Her voice rose, strong and unyielding. "Let them come!" The third blow tore the door wide open. Rain and firelight mixed. Shadows poured inside. Tall figures of black metal stepped across the threshold, their eyes burning red. Their bodies were thin but strong, like skeletons made of steel. Blades extended from their arms. The storm's wind howled through the broken doorway, carrying the scent of ash and iron. The first Vakal scout lunged forward. Daniel fired. The shot roared in the small house. The bullet struck the creature's chest. Sparks exploded. It staggered but did not fall. The woman leaped from the floor, her blade slicing through the air. The blue light cut into the scout's head. The metal split, and the creature collapsed in a shower of sparks. The boy screamed, but his eyes shone brighter, as if fire lived inside him. Two more scouts entered. Their red eyes locked on the child. Daniel's pulse hammered in his ears. He fired again, then again. The shots shook the walls. One scout stumbled, its arm torn away, but the other advanced, step by step, unstoppable. The woman spun, her blade clashing against steel, the sound ringing like thunder. Sparks flew across the wooden walls. Daniel swung a metal rod, striking the scout's head with raw force. The machine turned, but Daniel struck again, harder, roaring with a strength he did not know he had. The creature fell. Smoke filled the air. The fire crackled, fighting against the storm. For a moment silence returned. Only the wind outside whispered. Only the rain tapped on broken wood. Daniel stood with his chest heaving, sweat and rain dripping from his face. The rifle shook in his hands, but he did not lower it. The woman stood beside him, her glowing blade dripping with sparks, her breath ragged but her eyes alive. The boy peeked out from behind her. His face was pale, but in his eyes shone something Daniel had not seen before. Hope. The woman looked at Daniel. Her voice was low, but it carried weight. "This is only the beginning. More will come. They will not stop." Daniel nodded, his voice steady. "Then neither will we." The storm outside grew louder, but inside that broken house, something new was born. Not just fear. Not just survival. A bond. A choice. A fight that would decide far more than one night in the forest. The enemy had arrived. And humanity had answered. Smoke drifted through the broken door. Sparks glowed faintly on the floor where the enemy scouts had fallen. The storm still raged outside, but the sound of rain and thunder was no longer the loudest thing in the house. The loudest was Daniel's heart, beating like a drum inside his chest. He lowered the rifle at last. His hands trembled, but not from weakness. From the weight of what he had just done. He had killed beings not of this world. He had stepped into a war he never asked for. And there would be no turning back. The woman sank against the wall, her glowing blade fading to silence. Her armor cracked again, sparks running over the plates before dying out. She pressed a hand to her wound. Blood shimmered blue between her fingers. Yet even in her pain, her eyes were sharp. She looked at Daniel, measuring him, as if trying to decide whether he was only brave for a moment, or something more. "You fought," she whispered. "Not many would. Most would have run." Daniel wiped the sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand. His voice came rough but steady. "Running was never an option. Not when they came for you. Not when they looked at him like prey." The boy stood near the fire, his golden eyes wide. He hugged himself, as though holding in the strange energy that seemed to glow from his skin. He looked at Daniel with awe, like a child seeing a hero for the first time. The warrior mother turned her gaze to the boy, then back to Daniel. "You must understand. They will not stop. The scouts were only the first. More will come. Stronger. Faster. They will burn the forest if they must. If you stay, you will die." Daniel tightened his grip on the rifle. His jaw locked. If I leave, you die. So I stay. The woman shook her head. Why? You are not bound to us. You owe us nothing. Why risk your life for strangers from the stars? Daniel looked at the boy again. He saw small hands trembling, but he also saw courage hidden in his eyes. He saw innocence that deserved a chance to live. He looked back at the woman. Her armor was cracked, her body broken, but her spirit burned brighter than the storm outside. His answer came slow, each word heavy with truth. Because I am human. And humans do not turn their backs when someone needs help. Not when a child's life is at stake. Not when a mother fights alone. The woman's eyes softened. For a moment her warrior mask fell again, revealing not just a fighter, but a woman carrying a burden too heavy for one heart. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Then you are different from many I have known." Daniel turned to the door. The scouts lay in pieces, their red eyes dark. But the forest beyond glowed faintly, as if more lights were stirring among the trees. Time was short. He pushed the table back against the entrance, but he knew it would not hold another attack. His tools hung along the wall. An axe, a shovel, old nails, wire. Things meant for farming and repairs, not war. But tonight they would have to be weapons. He grabbed them, his hands moving with quick resolve. The woman watched him. "You prepare to fight again?" Daniel glanced at her. "If more are coming, then we make them bleed for every step they take." She tilted her head, studying him with eyes that glowed faintly gold in the firelight. "One man with a rifle and tools against an army of hunters?" Daniel's mouth curved in the faintest shadow of a smile. "One man. And one warrior. That makes two. And two can change more than you think." For the first time since she arrived, the woman gave a small laugh. It was soft, almost broken, but real. A sound of surprise, of respect. The boy moved closer, tugging at Daniel's sleeve. His voice was small but steady. "I will help too." Daniel knelt, meeting his gaze. "No, you stay safe. Protect your mother. That is your part. Mine is to keep them away from you." The boy nodded, though his eyes still shone with a strange light that hinted he was more than just a child. The woman leaned forward. "If you truly mean to stand with us, then you must know. Once you fight them, you will never escape their eyes. Even if you survive tonight, they will hunt you." Daniel looked into her golden eyes without fear. "Then let them hunt. Let them come. If humanity is known for anything, it is for refusing to kneel." The fire snapped behind them, throwing sparks high into the dark air. For a moment, the storm outside grew quiet, as if listening to his words. The woman reached out and touched his shoulder. Her hand was cold, but her voice was warm. "Then tonight you are not only a man of earth. You are a warrior of the stars." Daniel said nothing. He only nodded and set the tools on the table, readying them like weapons of war. His hands worked quickly. His eyes burned with purpose. The boy sat beside his mother, watching him with trust and admiration. Outside, the hum rose again, deeper this time, heavier. The ground trembled as something larger moved through the forest. The scouts had only been the beginning. The storm had not ended. The war was only starting. And humanity had chosen its side. The storm thinned to a heavy drizzle, but the night did not grow quieter. The forest beyond the house glowed with shifting red lights. The hum of alien machines grew deeper, a sound that shook the ground like a distant drum. Daniel stood at the shattered doorway, his rifle clutched in his hands, the axe strapped across his back. He had never felt smaller. Yet he had also never felt more alive. The warrior woman rose slowly from the floor. Her wound bled blue, her armor cracked, but her eyes blazed with the fire of battle. She touched the boy's head gently. "Stay here. Do not follow." The child clung to her arm. "Mother, no." Her voice softened, though her body shook with strain. "If I fall, he will protect you." She glanced at Daniel. "And he will not let you down." Daniel gave a short nod. His voice was low but steady. "We come back. Both of us. That's a promise." The woman studied him for a long moment, then pushed the door fully open. Cold night air swept in, filled with the metallic scent of rain and smoke. Together, they stepped outside. The forest waited like a beast. Trees bent under the wind. Red eyes glowed between trunks. Shadows moved with mechanical precision. Daniel whispered, "How many?" The woman's hand tightened around her glowing blade. "Enough to end us. Unless we end them first." The first scout broke through the trees, its metal limbs clicking, its red gaze fixed on them. Daniel fired. The shot cracked through the night. The bullet struck the scout's head, sparks flying. It fell, hissing like burning iron. But more followed. Dozens. Their eyes lit the forest like a swarm of predators. The hum rose into a roar. Daniel and the woman moved together. She leapt forward, her blade cutting arcs of blue fire. Sparks exploded as metal split. Limbs fell to the ground, glowing with dying light. Daniel fired, reloaded, and fired again. His shots tore through armor, driving scouts back. Yet they kept coming. The woman spun like a storm, her blade slicing through steel, her cry of battle echoing against the trees. She was fierce, but each movement cost her strength. Blood dripped from her wound, staining the wet ground. Daniel struck with raw force. His rifle cracked. When it ran empty, he swung the axe from his back, burying it into a scout's chest. Sparks burst across his face. He pulled the axe free and swung again. The forest rang with the clash of metal and fury. The storm returned in full force, rain pouring down like knives. Water hissed on alien steel. Lightning flashed above, casting every shadow and white fire. In that blinding light, Daniel saw them. A wave of hunters, spreading through the trees, endless as the rain. His breath burned in his lungs. His muscles screamed. Yet he did not stop. Each strike, each shot, carried more than his strength. It carried defiance. It carried the weight of a man who refused to surrender. The woman stumbled, her blade flickering. A scout's arm slashed toward her. Daniel roared and slammed his axe down, splitting the machine apart before it touched her. She fell against him, her eyes wide with shock. "You saved me," she whispered. Daniel pulled her upright, his voice iron. "We save each other." Her golden eyes glowed brighter, not from pain but from something else. Something she had not felt in a long time. Trust. Another wave of scouts pushed through the trees. The ground shook. Daniel gritted his teeth. His strength was failing, yet he refused to fall. He raised his axe, ready for more. Then it happened. The boy's cry cut through the storm. His voice rang like a bell, sharp and powerful, reaching them from the house. The scouts froze. Their red eyes flickered. Daniel turned. The boy stood in the doorway, his small body glowing with golden light. His eyes burned like fire, brighter than lightning, brighter than the machines. The scouts shuddered, their bodies twisting as if struck by an unseen force. The woman gasped. "No. He is too young." But it was already happening. The child lifted his hands. Energy burst from him, golden waves striking the forest. Scouts fell like broken toys, their bodies sparking and collapsing into the mud. Daniel shielded his eyes. The light was beautiful and terrifying. When it faded, silence filled the forest. Only rain fell. Only thunder rumbled far above. The scouts lay scattered, broken, their red eyes dark. The boy staggered, his small chest heaving. The glow in his eyes dimmed. He swayed on his feet. Daniel rushed to him, catching him before he could fall. The woman dropped to her knees, pulling the child into her arms. She held him close, her face torn between pride and fear. "You should not have used it. But you saved us." Daniel looked at the broken machines, then at the boy. His voice was quiet, filled with awe. "He did what we could not. He ended it." The woman shook her head. "No. This was not the end. The scouts are only tools. Their masters will see what he did tonight. And they will come." Her words hung heavy in the wet night air. Daniel stood, his axe dripping with rain, his chest still burning from battle. He looked at her, then at the boy who now slept in her arms. His choice had already been made. There was no going back. "We'll be ready," he said. His voice was steady, unshaken. "Let them come." Lightning split the sky again, bathing the forest in white. The machines lay silent. The storm howled. And in that moment, beneath the broken heavens, humanity stood unyielding. The battle in the forest was won. But the war had only just begun. The forest lay in ruins. Broken machines smoked among the trees. Their red eyes were dark, their steel bodies silent. Rain fell harder, washing sparks into the mud. The storm had hidden the battle, but its echoes lingered like scars on the land. Daniel leaned on his axe, chest rising and falling with each heavy breath. His arms ached. His muscles burned. Every strike, every shot had drained him, but still he stood. The fire inside him refused to die. The woman knelt in the mud, cradling her child. The boy's glow had faded, leaving only soft breaths and small trembling hands. His face pressed against her armor, his body weak from the power he had unleashed. She stroked his hair, her golden eyes shining with both pride and fear. Daniel stepped closer. "Is he all right?" The woman looked up. Her face was pale. Blue blood trickled from her wound, soaking deeper into her armor. "He lives. But his strength is not endless. Using it takes from him. Too much, too soon." Daniel knelt beside her. He reached for her shoulder, steadying her as she swayed. "And you?" She tried to stand, but her legs shook. Pain flashed across her face, but she forced a weak smile. "I am a warrior. I endure." Yet her body betrayed her. Her wound bled faster, staining the earth beneath her. She gasped, falling forward. Daniel caught her in his arms. "Easy," he said firmly. "Don't push yourself." Her eyes fluttered, but she held his gaze. "I must. If I fall, he has only you." Daniel shook his head. "Don't speak like that. You're not dying tonight." Her hand pressed against his chest, trembling yet strong. "You don't understand. My kind heals slower here. The air is wrong. The storm, it weakens me. I have hours. Maybe less." Her words struck him harder than the battle had. He refused to believe it. He refused to let her go. "No," he said, his voice hard. "I won't let you die." A faint smile touched her lips, sad and beautiful. "You speak like a human. Always fighting against what cannot be changed." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then I'll change it." She laughed softly, the sound fragile in the storm. Then her face grew serious. "Listen to me. If I fall, you must take him. You must carry him far. The Vaikal will come again, greater in number. But you are different. I see it now. I see why the stars whisper of your kind. It is not your strength. It is not your weapons. It is the fire in your spirit. It is the way you refuse to break." Daniel felt the weight of her words settle deep inside him. He wanted to argue, to tell her she would not fall. Yet looking into her eyes he saw truth. She was fading. She was giving all she had to hold her child and to fight one last time. He held her tighter, rain soaking both of them. His voice softened. "Then let me carry you too. You don't have to bear this alone." Her golden eyes filled with tears. "You would do that? Risk everything for us? For me?" Daniel nodded without hesitation. "Yes. Because no one should be left behind. Not you. Not him." Her lips trembled. She leaned against him, her breath weak, but her heart fierce. "Then know this. You are no longer just a man of earth. You are more. Tonight you became part of something greater." The boy stirred in her arms. His eyes opened, faint light glowing within. He looked at Daniel, his small voice breaking through the storm. "Do not let her go." Daniel's throat tightened. He pulled them both close, his arms wrapped around them as if his strength alone could hold back the darkness. In that moment, he understood. The machines were not the real enemy. The real enemy was despair. The real battle was not just survival, but holding on to love, even when the universe tried to crush it. The woman whispered one last truth, her voice barely louder than the rain. The Vaikal fear him. But now I believe they fear you too. Humanity. Because when you fight not only with strength. You fight with heart. And that is something no machine, no empire, will ever understand. Her head rested against his chest. Her breath slowed. For a moment, Daniel thought she was gone. Panic surged in him. But then her hand tightened around his arm, weak but alive. She looked up with eyes full of fire. Not yet. Not tonight. Relief washed over him, fierce and overwhelming. He held her close, his voice breaking with determination. Then we stand together. Until the end. The storm raged on, lightning tearing the sky. But in the heart of the forest, surrounded by broken machines and the scent of rain, something greater was born. Not just survival. Not just defiance. But a bond that no enemy could ever break. A bond of sacrifice. A bond of revelation. A bond that carried the name of humanity. The forest slept in smoke and ruin, but the night was not done. Beyond the trees, the ground trembled with a heavier step. The scouts had been only the beginning. Now their masters had arrived. Daniel stood at the broken doorway of his home. His rifle hung across his shoulder. His axe dripped with rain. Behind him, the warrior woman sat against the wall, her child safe in her arms. Her strength was fading, yet her golden eyes still burned with fire. The hum grew louder. The trees shook. From the shadows, a ship descended. Its black surface glowed with crimson lines, pulsing like veins of fire. The earth quaked as it landed, crushing roots and soil beneath its massive weight. Daniel's breath slowed. Fear pressed against him, but he did not bow. He stepped forward, out into the rain, into the storm. The ship's ramp hissed open. From the darkness emerged the Vaikal commander. Taller than any scout, armored in black steel, its eyes glowed like burning suns. In its hand was a spear of red light. The commander looked at Daniel, not with curiosity, but with contempt. A simple man, standing in the mud, daring to resist. The woman tried to rise, her voice sharp. No, Daniel. He is beyond you. Daniel did not turn. His voice was steady, hard as stone. Then let him learn what humanity means. The commander stepped forward. Its voice cut through the storm, cold and metallic. Give me the child. Surrender, and your death will be quick. Daniel's jaw tightened. He raised his axe. You'll have to kill me first. The commander tilted its head, almost amused. So be it. It lunged. The spear cracked with crimson fire. Daniel moved, swinging his axe with every ounce of his strength. The clash shook the ground, sparks raining through the storm. Metal screamed against metal. The commander struck again, faster, stronger. Daniel barely blocked, the force driving him to his knees. Mud splashed, rain poured into his eyes, but he refused to fall. Behind him, the woman pushed herself to her feet. Her blade ignited in a flash of blue. She staggered forward, standing at Daniel's side. Her body shook with weakness, but her spirit was unbroken. Together they faced the monster. The commander's spear sliced through the air, forcing them back. Daniel's arms ached, the axe slipping in his grip. The woman blocked the next strike, her blade glowing bright, but the force sent her stumbling. The commander raised its spear high, ready to finish them. Then the child screamed. A burst of golden light erupted from the doorway. It struck the commander, staggering the giant for the first time. Its red eyes flickered. The boy stood there, his small body trembling, his glow brighter than before. No! The woman cried. You will burn yourself out! But the child did not stop. His voice rang with power. Leave them alone! The golden light wrapped around Daniel's hands, around his axe, filling him with strength that was not his own. His chest burned, but not with pain. With power. With fire. Daniel roared. He charged, his axe blazing with golden light. He swung with all his strength, all his heart, all his defiance. The blade cut through the commander's chest. Sparks exploded. Metal shattered. The red light of the spear flickered and died. The commander let out a final hiss before collapsing into the mud, its body broken, its glow gone. Silence fell. The ship shook, its crimson veins dimming. Without its master, it could not stand. Flames erupted from within, and the massive vessel crumbled, fire consuming it until only ash remained. Rain washed the battlefield clean. The forest was quiet once more. Daniel dropped to one knee, gasping for air. The golden glow faded from his hands. He looked back at the boy, who swayed on his feet before collapsing into his mother's arms. She held him close, her tears mixing with the rain. She looked at Daniel. Her voice was soft, but filled with awe. No other race has ever done what you did tonight. You fought with nothing but your courage. You fought with your heart. That is what makes you human. That is why the stars will remember you. Daniel looked at her, his breath still heavy. I didn't fight alone. None of us did. That's what makes us strong. The woman smiled faintly, her golden eyes shining through her tears. Then perhaps humanity is not only strong. Perhaps it is unstoppable. Daniel stood again, lifting his axe, though his body shook with exhaustion. He looked at the ruined forest, the broken machines, the burning wreck of the ship. His voice was steady, even as rain poured down around him. Let them come again, he said. Let them bring their armies. We will not bow. Not tonight. Not ever. The woman leaned against him, her child safe in her arms. The storm began to break, the clouds parting, a pale light glowing through the sky. In that light stood a man, a warrior mother, and a child. 3 souls bound together not by blood, but by something stronger. By courage. By sacrifice. By love. And in that moment, the galaxy had its answer. Humanity would never surrender. Humanity would always rise. Humanity, against all odds, would always say, "Yeah."